Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's bright and early, daily discipline, mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through Sunday. Let me set the mood, get some incense going. What are we burning today? Hem Champa. Hem Champa. We were doing Nag Champa before. I like incense that is good for spiritual thought and practice. Got some music going. It's bright and early, mind, body, and soul. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Every Sunday, this is how we get down. I just go through my notes. I study every single day. I take notes on what I study. It's part of the Mind, Body, and Soul program. It's a program that I coach, that I mentor. It's a program that I've lived. It's what saved my life. It saves my life every day. If you want to get on my schedule, if you want to get some coaching, level up, not everybody needs it. Some people are trying to make themselves a better version. Some people are trying to move forward. If you need help with that, go to my website, skyazrael.com. You can also go check me out on social media, on Facebook or something like that, Instagram. I don't really like Instagram much, but I have it. Let's just jump into it. See, where do we start here? Well, here's some advice for getting women. If you only did one thing to get a woman, or to get women in general, to be more successful with women, if you only did one thing, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. We could make 10 videos on this and have each one of them be the top 10 things you could do to be more successful with women. YouTube is full of tens of thousands, possibly millions of videos like that. Let's just do one thing. One thing. If you could do one thing to get a woman, it would be to learn to laugh off rejection. Just not get so butthurt over it. Some people get really upset over it. I used to know these guys that hung out. These guys were such losers. They hung out in Ocean City, Maryland at the end of the boardwalk. And the very end of the boardwalk, Ocean City, Maryland, they have a long boardwalk. Goes on for like 100 blocks. And it's a cool boardwalk. We used to go out there when I was young. My brother would spend a lot of time out in Ocean City. And they had these guys that hung out down at the end in the street called Freak Street. That's where all the freaks hung out. All the heads, long-haired cats, hippies, metalheads, punk rockers. And you'd go there on a Friday night or Saturday night down to Freak Street and find out where the party's at. Find out what's happening. And there used to be these guys that hung out there, these fucking losers. They were like just little rats. They looked like they were like human hybrids of rodents. They were just these little stringy-haired, skinny, scrawny trailer trash motherfuckers, little rednecks. And they hung out down at the end of the boardwalk, this little group of them. And they would hound every single woman going by. Hey baby, hey baby, hey baby, hey baby. They'd get slapped. You want to fuck? Hey baby, you want to fuck? They'd get bitched out and yelled at, and people would just hate these guys. I asked one of them one time, does this ever work? I mean, you guys seem like such idiots. He was like, dude, you'd be surprised. If you can learn to handle the rejection, you do get laid. You may have to ask 500 women and you may have to get slapped by 300 of them, but you will get laid. He's like, I get laid more than you and more than anybody you know. So I'm not suggesting to be like those guys on Freak Street. All I'm suggesting is to learn to handle rejection. And this goes for a lot of areas in life. Let's go to the next one. All you postmodernists need this lesson. All you liberals need this lesson. You utopians need this lesson. Utopia is in heaven. Where does utopia exist? Does it exist? I don't know if we can find it here on earth or have ever found it. But that's what the concept of heaven is. This is what salvation is. Your salvation is your entrance into utopia, nirvana, Shambhala. There's a lot of different words for it. So utopia is in heaven, not on earth. The atheist, Marxist, Leninist, postmodernist, leftists want to burn down the world and create utopia upon its ashes. It's a fantasy. It's never happened, and it never will happen. Let's move on to the next one. There's some societal issues that I'm really just kind of sick of. I'm not against these things. I'm just kind of sick of talking about it. You ever have topics where you're sick of talking about? And it doesn't mean that you hate that topic or that you hate the material or the people that engage in it. You're just sick of talking about it. Can we not talk about this anymore? I'm so sick of it. So here's my list of stuff I'm just tired of talking about with people. Tolerance, compassion, unity, inclusiveness. Ugh, it just leaves such a dirty taste in my mouth. I'm so sick of this talk of inclusiveness. Now, I'm not against these things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm anti-tolerance. Oh, this guy's anti-tolerance. I'm sick of the conversation. We've talked about it for 30 years, 40 years. I'm done with it. I have nothing more to say in these topics. Systemic racism. I'm so sick of that. When I hear somebody mention systemic racism, I tune right out. Tune right out. I go instantly to Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck or whatever's going on in my head. I am no longer paying attention. Multiculturalism, shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of all your little theories of how society can be better and what you want to do to it, how you want to change it, how you want to tear it down. I'm sick of it. I don't want to talk about it. Your cultural appropriation, it's a lie. There's no such thing. It's such a bullshit little fucking racist conspiracy theory made by liberal racists. The LGBTQ, anything to do with that, F you. LGBTQ, F you. I am sick of you. I am sick of seeing you, sick of hearing about you. I don't care anymore. And I don't hate gay people. I have gay people in my family that I love. I'm sick of the conversation. I'm sick of it. Environmentalism, that's the final one on my list. All you little Greta Thunbergs out there that care about this stuff, go fine, care about it. Go cry about it. Go worry about it all you want. Just leave me out of the conversation. I'm done with it. I talked about this stuff when I was in my 20s. If you're in your 20s and you want to bitch and moan about this stuff, fine. I don't care. I got a Mustang, a Road King, and a giant Hemi truck. I'm not going electric. I'm not trying to do these solar-powered idiots come by the house once in a while trying to sell me that shit. I send them on their way. Fuck off. I'm just sick of this stuff. I really am. Let's move on to the next one. Did you know your belief in God is really just a matter of your own opinion? It's not something that you can prove. You can only prove it to yourself. I believe in God, and there's nothing anybody that can do to snap me out of that. Nothing. There would be nothing you could say. There's no argument that even the smartest person in the planet Earth could come up with to convince me out of it. And it doesn't mean I'm just so hard-headed. It means I've had experiences, empirical experiences. I've seen stuff with my own eyes, heard stuff with my own ears, and there's nobody, no professor, no theologian, no one that can say, sky, well, However, that's all just my opinion, like the Big Lebowski. That's just like your opinion, man. I have my opinion. And I don't argue my opinion. I argue fact. We can argue fact. We can argue truth. But I'm not going to argue my opinion because you have your opinion and I have mine. Believe what the fuck you want and leave me the fuck alone. That's basically the bottom line with that one. Let's go on to the next one. Let's talk a little bit about atheists. You know what atheists want? I philosophized on atheists for a long time, and I used to be a big-time atheist. How does one go from being an atheist to being religious? You know, I should make a whole video on that. But that's what happened to me. Atheists want death to be death, for the dead to be dead. They don't want an afterlife or anything after death. They love and promote, kind of demand with their fist on a table. They demand it. Like this is what they want, like an angry customer. They demand death to be it. There's no afterlife. There's no salvation. There's no heaven. There's no hell. It's just blackness. I used to believe that. Total nihilism. The atheists get annoyed with any talk of afterlife from any culture. Well, let's not say that. They actually don't get too annoyed with the talk of afterlife from Islam, and they don't get too annoyed with talk of afterlife from Hindu, Oh no, what they do get annoyed with is any talk from Christians. If a Christian opens their mouth in any way, "Can I get a glass of water?" You'll get 20 atheists on his ass. "What did you say? What did you say?" The atheists hate the Christians. What else do they want? They want universe and existence to be purposeless and pointless. So they want the universe and existence to be purposeless and pointless. They want no significance of actions. Your actions mean nothing. They want to rob God of power, take the power that God has, this hierarchy of the Almighty Creator, and take all of that and put it in their own hands. Like Nietzsche, God is dead. Well, kill God. Kill the concept of God. And you have people saying, "I am God. I'm my own God." A lot of these hippie philosophers, ones that I enjoy, like Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts, except for when he starts talking about how he is God. And you have all these little idiot gurus spawning out of this "I think I'm God" self-righteous bullshit. You'll all burn in hell. The atheists want, oddly enough, conformity and a communist utopia. And you can draw a correlation between every single atheist and a Marxist lie that they were fed. And I find that really interesting. We could do a whole video just on that, tying atheists into communism and drawing that connection for people so they understand it. Peter Hitchens explained it this way. The atheists want there not to be a God for precisely the same reasons that I want there to be one. If you don't know about Peter Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens' brother, Peter Hitchens is awesome. He's the more awesome Hitchens. Peter Hitchens is awesome. Let's go to the next one. Talk more about God. It is Sunday. Prosperity is the wisdom of God. I like the way that sounded when I wrote it down. So I'm not talking about being rich makes you wise with God or makes you know about God. It means that prosperity isn't money. Prosperity isn't wealth. Prosperity, be prosperous, isn't having a mansion and having a lot of stuff, a fleet of Bugattis or whatever. That's not prosperity. None of that goes with you. Prosperity is your own personal daily pursuit in God. How far down the road are you in your spiritual practice? Pretty far? You get way into that stuff? You are a very successful person. You know, this is the only thing that gets you into heaven. You're not going to pay your way into heaven. Your cool watch, I got a pretty cool watch. Your cool watch isn't going to get you into heaven. Your diamond ring, I'll take off my watch, my nice watch, and my diamond ring and be like, "Yeah, St. Pete, check it out, bro. This stuff is worth a lot. What do you think?" That's not going to get you into heaven. That's not going to get you to salvation or whatever you believe in. No, your wisdom and your knowledge in the ways of the Lord. That's what gets you in. You got to remember that a camel through the eye of a needle. And that's not a statement against wealth. People think that the camel through the eye of a needle is some kind of working class fist raise against rich folk. It's not. It means just don't worship your wealth. Be wealthy, but don't expect on taking none of it with you. Give it all away, happily. Let's step out of religion a little bit. End it off with some physics. I've been studying string theory for quite a long time. I've read several books on it. I've watched countless videos, every video. I've watched every video on it. I've also been studying this concept of higher dimensions. There's obviously lower dimensions. We can prove that there's 1 and 2 and 3 dimensions. That's provable, that's empirical. We know that. We're living in a 3-dimensional world. We can prove it. But let's start with string theory. And I don't have a lot of time to ramble on about this. I could have made the entire video just about this. I've come to the conclusion, now this isn't so solid, I'm not closing the door on string theory, but I've come to the conclusion after a good 15 years of studying this, that string theory is a bunch of nonsense and it's bullshit, and there's no way to prove any of it. It's just a thought experiment with a little bit of math that people think backs it up. String theory is a bunch of nonsense, and I'll take it a step further. String theory is a diversion created by government scientists in order to hijack the scientific community and to keep them away from actually finding what's really going on with our nature of existence and with the universe. This is actually a conspiracy, and Eric Weinstein talks about this. String theory is a diversion. String theory is a fucking setup. String theory has no proof. And let's go to the dimensions. We'll end it off here. I'm starting to wonder, people have this fantasy about fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh dimensions, 10 dimensions. I think we're arguing right now in physics about the 11th dimension, the existence of the 11th dimension. None of that's provable. You can't prove a fourth dimension. Sure, people say time. We're talking about spatial dimensions. Go look at a tesseract. That would be a cube, a fourth dimensional cube. It's a hypothesized fantasy. We can't perceive 4 dimensions because we live in 3 dimensions. 4 dimensions is a theory, it's a fantasy, and you can't even really show it. You can't prove it. You can't say, well, this is a 4th dimensional object, because we don't live in the 4th dimension and we would only see 3 dimensions. That's what we're limited to. I'm going to suggest that there is no such thing as higher dimensions. There are no more dimensions than 3. Prove me wrong.